So it's, as you can see, cloudy. It's supposed to rain again today. We're supposed to get 3 solid days of rain. And it's not even small percentages. It's like 70 or 80% chance of rain for 3 days straight. We just got through a rain. It's done nothing but rain this spring. It's just constant rain. This is just incredible. I'm struggling to cut the grass. Went back and forth on whether I should go ahead and cut it yesterday because of the rain that's coming. But it was so wet that the lawnmower just kept fishtailing. Of course, I got tire chains on the back wheels, so it goes right through the mud just fine. But the front wheels won't turn because everything's so muddy. So I went ahead and skipped it. When I do get to actually cut it, it's going to be slow go. It's already been over 2 weeks and it's getting really thick. So this makes it kind of a struggle to live off grid, as you would probably know. All the clouds, you just don't get much of a charge. So you got to rely on your backup system, which is the generators. Now, as you know, I've got 2 generators. I got one that's several years old and it's only gasoline. The other one is gasoline or propane. It's a dual fuel. Now, I've been kind of stubborn about getting the propane one because there's problems with propane in the wintertime. You got to keep the tank warm or it loses pressure. You won't get enough power, and it's just, and I guess I just didn't understand it very well. So I went with gasoline. Now, that being said, the propane generator has went down in price significantly since I started looking at generators 4 or 5 years ago. So as you know, we had this one. It's been very reliable. This one's, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old now. And I had 2 prior to this, both of them Champion. Of course, those were kind of a square shape. It was before these came out. One burned up in the fire. The other one, I just forgot to take the gasoline out of the carburetor, and we were nomads. So I couldn't wait around waiting to order another carburetor, so I just went and bought this. And this one has smoked oil, burned oil throughout its entire life, but I guess that's okay because by the time the oil level drops down to where the low oil shutoff hits, it's time to change the oil anyway. So it's not really been a big deal. I just didn't like the smoking. The new one doesn't smoke, and the 2 old ones didn't smoke, so I don't know why this one smoked, but it keeps running. I've decided to use this one as a backup and my propane one as a primary. I do run this frequently though to run the well pump, just to keep it going, and that way I don't have to drain the gas, and it only runs for 10-15 minutes at a time. Now with the rain, and I'm having to fill it every other day or every 3 days because of the rain, the well gets dirty. I've told you that story. I'm not going to go through that again, but it gets dirty when it's really heavy rain. And we've got rain so bad around here now that roads are washing away. It's a lot of rain. Now, I took it out of service when the rope broke on the pull string here. I took it out of service. Well, I say out of service, on limited service, and I started using the propane one. But about a week after that, I discovered that the propane cost was cheaper than the gasoline cost. Now, this one's a 2,000 watt inverter generator. Runs very quiet. And what happens is it has a sensor in it, some sort of sensor, that when you need more power, the engine revs up on its own and then comes back down. Now, what it does is it comes back down to where it's giving out 25% of its power rating. So when you plug something in and it's more than the 25%, I don't want to do the math because I always get math wrong on YouTube unless I have a calculator. Okay, so now the 2,000 watts is peak watts. It runs less than that. I don't know what it is, 1,200 watts or 1,000 watts. On this one, I don't know. So at 25%, it can run a gallon of gasoline in 11 hours. The problem is you don't always run less than 25% with these generators. When I turn my battery charger on, it has 25 amps, and you can hear the engine rev up. It revs up. So let's say it's running at 30% power. That means it's using more gasoline than the 1 gallon every 11 hours. So let's just say it's 1 gallon every 9 hours or 8 hours, whatever it is. So I've never really calculated out what it takes to run my battery charger. The problem with battery charger, it starts out 25 amps and then slowly over time drops down to 0. So it would be really hard to figure out. But I've always enjoyed this little generator. When we were nomads, everybody would compliment me about how great it is. Now, a lot of people say you should get a Honda generator. They're just better quality and all that. I've watched all the YouTube videos, all the comparisons, all of it. And for the money, I say this is the best deal. I'm not telling you if you did not get a Honda, but I think this is the best deal. It lasts a long time. It's just as quiet. It runs great. My understanding is, from the reviews that I've watched, the Champion has a better customer service than Honda. So I don't see why you want to go out and pay more than double the price, because you can pick up one of these for 400 to 500 bucks. These are nice because you can go to a Tractor Supply store and just pick them up. They're in stock. They usually have at least one all times. Just call them up, say, hey, reserve that for me, and then you run down there and get it. That's how I got this one. When the one died, I called them up. They were about 50 miles away. I said, I'm coming down right now, but it's going to be a couple hours before I can get there. Will you hold it back? And they did. Now, when we come down to the propane one, I'm enjoying this one even more than the old one. It has really surprised me how well it's done. Now, I ran it on gasoline for a while until gasoline prices went above $4 a gallon. Then it became cheaper for me to run propane. Now, I told you on that old one that the rating is at 25% power. Well, they don't have a rating on this one. They don't say that it runs so many hours per power level. So I've been recording how long it's ran. I got this little spreadsheet on my phone. And so every time I run it, I put down an hour or 2 hours, whatever it is. That way I know when I need to change the oil. That's the reason I did it. But when I switched over to propane, I put in new tank. This morning, the tank I put in ran out of propane. Now the instruction says that it will last 30 hours on a can of propane, on a tank of propane. Now the thing I noticed is when you switch this over from gasoline to propane, the engine runs faster. Kind of about the same speed that I would think that the battery charger is running at on gasoline. That means it's running more than 25% power. I can't tell you how much more, but I know it's more. Because when you put it on gasoline, it's a real slow turn, and then when you put it on propane, it runs a little faster. So I calculated it out at 30 hours, and I found out that if I ran 3 gallons of gas at 25%, that's 30 hours. So 30 hours on a tank, or 3 gallons of gas. So 3 gallons of gas times $4, it's at $4.19 right now. That's $12. Like I said, the tank here was $11. So at present, this is cheaper. Now my concern is what does that take into consideration about the power usage? 25%, 30% power usage. Well, when I started up and it was running faster, I knew that it was already producing more power. Now, I didn't know if this was a flaw with the generator, that it was running faster than it did with gas. I wasn't sure. So I decided, I think the best thing to do is record all the hours. Now, the first tank I put in was a partial tank. It wasn't full. So when I put on a new tank, it was a brand new tank, and I ran it. And I ran it for 27 hours, and then this morning it shut down on me. So I changed out the tank. Now, I don't know how accurate my recordings are. I do know that there have been a few times I think, oh, did I record that or not? I can't remember. And so there may have been 2 or 3 hours worth that I didn't record. And that's about all I run it. I run it an hour in the morning. When we were running the incubator, I would run it about an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening. And then on rainy, cloudy days, I run anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, at least once that day. Even assuming that I recorded everything correctly, and it was 27 hours, that could be because the power usage was just a little bit higher. But what I will say is, it's a dramatic difference between the old generator and new generator. The new generator, we're only talking just a couple dollars difference. Versus on that one, we're talking a lot of money. 11 hours versus 8 or 9 hours per gallon of gas. Because of the 25%. You hardly run anything, maybe a fan or something like that, at 25% power. Now what was really interesting is this new generator is 2,500 watts. My old one was 2,000 watts. So I'm getting more power out of it with less cost on propane. Now if gas prices come back down to where they were pre-inflation, propane would have to come back down too. Now the thing about propane is the price of propane hasn't changed dramatically in years. It'll go up in the wintertime and come down in the summertime, but I've been getting propane for the last 5 years as nomads, And it's been pretty consistent. I mean, there's times you fill up and you think, wow, that's expensive. But then 6 months later, you come back and you fill up again, and it's not too bad. Time before last, I filled up the tanks. It was $11 on the nose with that military discount. But then when I filled it up again, it was 41 cents more expensive. Now, the actual price without the military discount was $14, which is about right. That's about market price right now. Now, the thing about propane is it doesn't fluctuate based on supply and demand like gasoline does. Gasoline goes way up and it comes way down, and it's just dependent on supply and demand. Well, propane is a byproduct of gasoline and diesel production. So they store it in caves or mines or whatever. You can Google it, it'll tell you exactly where they store it. But in dark, cold, dry places, you know, those kind of things. The biggest cost to propane is shipping cost. But if you go to Dollar General, it has been $20 at Dollar General for as long as I can remember. For an exchange, you go and get an exchange. But when you go and get them filled, you actually, in some states, get more in the fill than you do in the exchange. In the exchange, you get 3.5 gallons, I think. And when you go and get it refilled, you get a 4.5 gallons. So you get an extra gallon. So you're paying $20 for that 3.5 gallons versus $11 for 4.5 gallons. There is a new button on the screen. It's either here or right here. It's been here the whole time throughout this video. It says view product. In that, you'll see a list of products that I use regularly. A generator, the Berkey, some solar panels, cheaper ones that I've seen. The solar panels aren't what I have. If you'll click that and check out those products, I'd appreciate it. So if I can inspire you to find the cheap things so you can live your dream. Thanks for watching.